What's cracking, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. New video. Today, it's early in the morning. I want to knock everything out early today. I got things I got to take care of. And I was looking at my list of stuff that I had planned. And then I said, you know what? Let me go into one of the I don't know if I should say darkest periods of my incarceration, but it was very strange time, right? So let me get into it as much as I can. This is one day I'll tell the whole entire story, but for now, this is what we'll do. So you can go back and see different videos where I've spoke about when I left Pelican Bay SHU and I went to New Folsom for the second time. There's also another channel. Maybe I'll post the link up. Where is it? Right here. Maybe I'll post the link up. And it's by a channel called Free Robert's World. And the video is called Doing Time with Dubs. And he talks about when I first arrived to New Folsom that second time and what transpired. I'll talk about it a little bit now so it can lead into the story. Pelican Bay, New Folsom. C facility always had a bad history as far as vatos from Southern California. It was recognized by Raza from Southern California as a victim's yard. It was a stronghold for the Northern Raza, and B facility for Southern Raza was referred to more as the gangster yard. There was always more violence on that yard. If something was going to jump in New Folsom, it was more than likely 9 out of 10 times going to be on B facility. And the first time I was in New Folsom, I was in B facility. You know, I was in Ad Seg for a while before I left. While in Ad Seg, I had picked up a stabbing, right? And went to the SHU and, you know, bounced around different prisons back in the SHU a few times. Wow. I'm about to leave the SHU, and it's 2001, and they endorsed me to New Folsom. Now, I know that the guy that we had stabbed in Ad Seg, the last time I was in New Folsom, I knew he was on B facility. So it's mandatory they're going to send me to C facility. So I'm right there. And this is what happens, or what back then what would happen. We prepare. So I get at the legend that's there with me. It was somebody that I was very close to. And I tell him, hey, I'm going back to New Folsom. This time I'm going to C yard. What's going on there, right? And he tells, I said, because there was a curfew there. If you were from Southern California, there was a curfew. There was only a set amount of time you could be there, right? So I was like, you know, what's going on? What are we doing there? What's being done there, right? And he said, look, you know what time it is. He said, get there. If you feel like we can establish something there, if you feel we can make money there, then set it up. Get everything up and running. Let's get that money. Right? He said, if you feel that there's nothing that we can do with that spot, nothing can be set up, nothing can be put in place, get a crew together and whack every motherfucker you can. I said, no problem. So I'm preparing. And I get transferred down there. Within 2 weeks, 9 of us from Pelican Bay SHU and from B facility in Pelican Bay come down. This is after the 2000 riot. So people are starting to get kicked out of the SHU, right? And so 9 of us land on C facility in New Folsom. And this shook up the administration. I was having a lot of problems as far as the cops wanting me or wanting to allow me out to C facility. I actually had to file a 602 And so anyways, they released me out to the yard. And immediately I saw that things were not at all up to the standards of a level 4 180. And so I started having conversations with the guys that were in charge. Back then, it was still a llavero system, one man, one vote. He would put people around him to advise him, people who he trusted. A lot of times back then with llaveros, they would put yes men around them. So they always did exactly what they wanted to do, right? Well, here it was 3 dudes working together. And I had no desire whatsoever to be in charge of that facility. My thing was what I had been told, what I planned for. I'm just gonna make money. I'm gonna make money. I'm gonna generate income the way it's supposed to be done. However, we can't generate income in an unsecured environment. And that was the discussion that I was having with these guys. You can't be having motherfuckers walk through, and you can't, like, vatos can't be asleep during the day. Like, there needs to be structure. There needs to be discipline. How in the fuck am I supposed to depend on somebody who I gotta fucking tell how to do time? Right? So, needless to say, the guys running the yard were paranoid. The guys that were on the yard and had been on the yard were paranoid. Couldn't stand me, the guys I was kicking it with, because we were bringing the law, I guess, right? We were setting everything back the way it's supposed to be. You don't like it, get the fuck out the way. We had no sympathy. You know, as a fucking man, what's expected of you. You came to this soft ass yard and you let your guard down. It's not happening. And so we started tightening up. And there was a point where someone, well, keep it real, they're bloqueros, the guys that they had taken care of the blocks for them, the guys that were in charge. As soon as I got there, and the guys that I was running around with, we got there, they all came to me immediately. This is what they're doing wrong. Hey, we know you guys are here to change things, and we don't want to get washed up. We don't want to get hit. And their whole crew was basically telling us every secret, every mistake. They started stepping out of their positions, telling them dudes, hey, I don't want to run a block for you no more. Things are going to change. I don't want to get caught up. It was a trip. I had never seen something that bad like that. One of the most concerning things that we were told was there was an individual that had been on the yard saying that he was a legend. People keep asking, there's a lot of new people to the channel, what is a legend? I refer to the people that are members, full-blown members of whatever organization, the big 4 behind the walls. I refer to them as legends because I don't identify those groups by name. So someone had been there saying that they were a legend. And this dude was drinking out of the same cups as blacks, smoking cigarettes with them. He would go to day room and hang around with them and not the raza. Come on now. Obviously, his actions show otherwise. He was a J-Cat. He was gone. He was nuts. And these dudes didn't pull the trigger on it because they were like, well, what if he really is? That's what they told me. When I found out, I jammed them. I said, hey, what's up with this shit, Holmes? I heard this dude, this and this and that. And yeah, but what if he is? I said, he's not. Yeah, but what if? There ain't no what if, homie. He's not. Well, he wound up coming back, and I pushed up on them and I said, this dude got to go. Like, he shouldn't be here a day. I didn't see him. I had just heard he landed. What building he landed in. I said, have somebody in his building hit him ASAP today. Send something. They were worried. Anyways, they asked somebody to hit him. The dude they asked, I didn't know, had a history. He had rolled it up off a B facility, and that's why he was on C facility. They knew what he was going to do. In the middle of the night, this fool rolls it up. Next thing you know, the guys that called the shot, they're in that SIG as well. It was such a strange fucking time. The only other time I heard of shit this weird happening was in Tehachapi back in the days. Maybe I'll tell a story about that if you guys want. But now, power shifted to another individual. And this individual was a very paranoid individual. It was weird, right? Anyway, so our hands were forced. I received a letter, and then about a day or two later, another individual there received a letter, and basically the letters were, "It's you guys. Well, it's you. Get a crew together and take over." And this was when the MESA system had just been put in place. Like I said, I had received my letter first. The other guy was Friedman. He wanted to be in one of my closest, my right-hand man. I had heard, hey, you know what, this vato, he got a letter too. So I approached him. I said, hey, homie, somebody get at you? He's like, yeah, this is who got at me. I said, all right, cool. I said, we're going to work together then. You know, we're not going to have no division. Everything's about the camaradas. And we did that. And for years, we were spoiled. B facility was having a lot of turnover on their mesa. They were making a lot of mistakes, a lot of errors that were too flamboyant. And the cops kept snatching them up, and it was just a headache for those legends that were depending on these guys. There's just a lot of turnover over there. Whereas on our facility, on Sea Yard, it was the same dudes for years. In charge, everything was smooth. I was generating a lot of income. We had voted. We had come to an understanding that because of the history of Sea Facility, when someone fucks up on Sea Yard under our authority, the hit was going to have to be bad. It was going to have to be ugly, because everybody in the state needed to know whether they were blue or green, whether they were convict or guard. Things have changed in Sea Facility, and things are fucking serious, right? And so that's how we were doing our thing. And next thing you know, one of the guys that was important to us, he wound up stabbing somebody. Him and somebody else jumped on somebody, so we lost him. Another one paroled. We're down to 3, right? And it was slim pickings, so we were like, it can be 3, it can be 5, as long as it's an odd number, so there's no tie on the vote, right? That's what it is. So we were like, we can roll with 3. And then we lost another one, right? And we hadn't had turnover, like I said, for years. Turnover is not good. So it was down to 2, me and the guy that had received the letter. The 2 that had received the letters to take over. We're the only 2 left, and we're like, we'll find another one. Somebody came out of the hoyo, and this was somebody that had been on the yard with us. He was from my area, right? Not somebody that I would have ever asked to sit down with us. However, he had been given authority by a legend. If there's a seat open, take it. And we had to honor that. And then another individual, same caliber, someone we would not have asked, he gets the same. And we're like, well, we can't right now because we can't have an even number. Then one day I come out. Now we decided to take the other one on to avoid the headache. I'm going to call the guy that received the letter with me around the same time as me. I'm going to call him B. Okay. B and I decided, you know what, let's let this dude on. We'll let these vatos think they have an equal vote, but you and I are going to be the ones to decide everything. These vatos were kind of yes men, and that's what we did not want. We needed people where if they didn't agree, Tell me why you don't agree. Show me where I'm wrong. You might have a better idea than me, right? So we're operating with 4, and we know we cannot keep doing this. We have to have that 5th person. We have to have a tiebreaker, right? At the time, MRSA, the staph infection, MRSA, was rampant. And I had a very bad infection in my left arm. Everybody was getting it, man. And I was getting my sleeves done at the time, and that's how I got the infection, right? And I remember coming out to yard, right? And one of the dudes, I came out to yard and I was in a lot of pain. And I'm unfortunately, I'm one of those people where I don't do well with pain. When I'm in pain, I get angry, right? So I was in a very bad mood. And I come out, and one of the guys that were the newer guys on the mesa, he's like, oh, hey, homie. He introduces me to this dude that I've never seen. I don't even know where he's from yet. He introduces me to him, and he says to me, hey, homie, he's got the blessings from so-and-so, this and this and that. We should put him on the mesa because we need that other one, right? And I was like, what the fuck are you doing, eh? And I told the dude that his name's Richie. I'm going to say his fucking name. This new dude that I'm meeting, Richie, I told him, hey, Spencer, let me talk to the homie. And I pulled him aside. I said, what the fuck are you doing, eh? Like, do you know that cat? But how long ago did you meet this dude, eh? And he's like, no, I just met him and he was telling me this. I said, hey, Holmes, you don't expose who we are. We don't know this cat. I said, what's done is done, Holmes. So I go back over to Richie and I'm like, all right, so what's happening, eh? And immediately my spider senses went up. Immediately. He dropped like 6 names of legends. Oh, I know so-and-so, and I get at so-and-so. This vato knows me well, this and this and that. Keep in mind, I'm in a lot of pain. I have this infection in my arm. I'm in a lot of pain. I'm not in a good mood. And this other dude just basically said, yeah, me and this dude have a position on the yard to somebody we don't know, right? And like I said, he's mentioning these names. He throws out like 6 names, and I'm like, hey, look, homie, if you try to impress somebody with who you know, I don't give a fuck about that, eh? Like, I'm gonna keep it real with you, Holmes. And he was like, huh? I said, I ain't trying to be disrespectful, homie, but all that coming out here throwing names around the shit, eh? I go, that's not impressive to me, Holmes. Like, if you were giving blessings, that's what I want to know about. I don't need to know about all that other shit, eh? But I did that because I needed him to know whatever his fucking relationships were his. I had relationships too. I had connections too. I'm not impressed. And so the tone was set between me and him. Something wasn't right. And he was given that 5th position. My right hand and I talked to him and I said, hey, something ain't right, eh? I said, we got 3 motherfuckers we can't even count on. I said, this new dude, I said, look, we're going to have to limit what we know. Well, I mean, what we have to take care of, we're going to have to limit what he's aware of, eh? Until we figure everything out with this cat. He said, yeah, we'll do that. So we sent his name up, which is normal. His name came back clean. But there was something wrong with him. I felt it. I felt it in my gut. All of a sudden, like, we started letting him know. Once his name came back clean, we're like, okay, look, these are some of the things we need to take care of. Like, this vato needs to get hit. And it was dudes that needed to get hit for political purposes, not because they had bad cases. So they weren't like, we need to rush these out, right? It was like, we're going to get to those. Let's make sure we, take care of priorities. Richie wound up getting a fucking job in the program office. That's basically the police department on the yard. We had been on that yard years, and there had never been a raza from Southern California that got a clerk position in there. We had a homie that was a janitor. He hung out in front all day. He would go and grab a trash, throw the trash, and hang out. He would never stay inside. Richie got a job there about 2 weeks after getting there. And we're like, He threw a lot of names around. He came from Salinas Valley. Supposedly was involved over there. How did he get this fucking job, man? So then we start sending fillers out again. See, the legends only know certain stuff back then because they were away. They knew what he was telling them. We needed to hear from Salinas Valley, from camaradas. Who is this cat? I remember an occasion where me and B were walking by him. He was talking to somebody from his area, right? And then we're in deep conversation. I'm paying attention to everything. As me and B got closer, Richie shushed him. They stopped talking. I'm fucking fuming. The next day, after we walked past him, I told B, did you see what the fuck this motherfucker did? He said, nah, what do you do? And I told him, he was like, what the fuck? I said, I'm gonna jam him tomorrow. Because I was on the yard crew and he was a clerk, we're gonna be on the yard before everybody else. So the next day, I see him and he's like, hey, what's up? I go, come here, home. He came up to me, what's up? I said, what the fuck was that all about, eh? You think I'm dirty? You think there's something wrong with me or something? And he was like, what are you talking about? I said, you shut that dude up. You didn't want us to hear nothing in your conversation, homie. Who you do that around? And he's like, nah, well, what it is I'm going to have the homie start bringing in dope for me, this and this and that. I was like, well, why did you shush him, homie? He goes, because he doesn't want nobody to know. I go, if he brings anything in, I'm going to know anyways, right? Yeah, Holmes, you know what? I fucked up. I was like, yeah, okay, Holmes. Again, I was like, something is wrong with this cat. I can't end this story yet. But I'm introducing this person because at some point I will tell the story, the whole story. But just know this. The vato we find out later, after he gets me sent to the hoyo. He works with a jura. Turns out both of them are afraid that I'm going to have them both hit. And I was. Richie was going to get hit for being a fucking rat. Yeah. He was part of the leadership. And he was a fucking plant. He had been connected. He had done a whole lot of work. But what I found out later, and it unfortunately didn't hit me until I was in Ad Seg, was that he had been part of the leadership in Salinas Valley. He was going to get validated, and he told the Juras that he would work for them, but they had to transfer him. They decided New Folsom C facility, because keep in mind, like I said before, C facility had always been basically a programming joint. C facility had the main kitchen, it had the laundry. That they had contracts with hospitals on the streets. There was a lot of money they were generating through there. Prior to our arrival, Southerners really weren't a factor on that yard, and the administration would try to keep them off the yard because, according to them, the Southerners are potential rivals of every faction at all times. Whereas if you take the Southerners and remove them from the yard can make money. The yard will program. The only thing that they had to worry about was probably the whites and Northerners. That would be it. So they didn't want us there. So our presence there, the fact that we were hitting people in an extremely violent manner, that we were setting a tone for the state to know things had changed, Sacramento had taken note of it. Our game was so tight. There was nothing they could do to break us, to break that leadership that was there, until Richie decided in Salinas Valley that he would cooperate. And they decided, send him to the new Folsom Sea facility. I don't know when I'll be able to tell the rest of this story, but hopefully you like the first part. It's a crazy fucking story, man. Nuts. But that's my story for today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed it. If you did, do me a favor, leave a comment, leave a like, and share this with someone else you think would be interested in it. Everybody, please be safe, be smart, and tell everyone you love that you love them. I'm out.